Hello everyone, good afternoon. It is Thursday, July 9th. I'm Stephanie Haney. This is 3 News Now, where we bring you the top headlines from WKYC.com and our WKYC app. We've got the most up-to-date numbers in from the Ohio Department of Health, so we'll start by letting you know what COVID-19 is looking like today here in the state of Ohio. Now, new case numbers are down from yesterday, but they are still in the thousands. New daily reported deaths are also down, but we have breached that 3,000 total deaths number here in the state of Ohio for the first time today. Let's take a look at the exact numbers and let you know where we stand here in Ohio. There have been a total of 1,150 new reported cases of COVID-19 in the last 24 hours, according to the Ohio Department of Health. That brings our total number of cases dating back to March 9th that we are aware of to 61,331. The Ohio Department of Health is now reporting presumed recovered cases, and that number is now 42,111, which is about 69% of the total cases of COVID-19. So about 31% of the cases of COVID-19 that we know about here in the state of Ohio are currently active at this time. In terms of the total number of deaths, we have breached that 3,000 number. We have now suffered 3,006 deaths related to COVID-19 here in the state of Ohio. There were 15 new deaths reported today. That is down slightly from yesterday when there were 21 new deaths reported. The total number of new hospitalizations is also down today. There were 81 new hospitalizations reported today, bringing that total to 8,570. The total number of ICU admissions is now 2,146. That number, newly daily reported, is also down today, with 19 new daily reported ICU admissions, down from 26 new daily reported ICU admissions yesterday. Let's take a look at the national and the global numbers. These come from Johns Hopkins University. In the U.S., there are now a total of 3,081,383 confirmed and probable cases of COVID-19. So that's a significant increase from yesterday. We saw about 65,000 new cases reported across the U.S. of COVID-19 in the last 24 hours. That's from 2 p.m. yesterday to 2 p.m. today. The total number of deaths in the nation is now 132,723. So that's over 1,000 new deaths reported across the country since yesterday. That puts us at about a 4.4% death rate for known deaths and known cases of COVID-19. And globally, that puts us maintaining those numbers of about 25% of the known global cases here in the U.S. and about 24% of the known deaths here in the U.S. Globally, there are now over 12 million reported cases of COVID-19. That number is 12,118,667. The total number of deaths related to COVID-19 globally is now 551,271. Globally, that puts the world at about a 4.5% death rate related to COVID-19. Here in Northeast Ohio, the order that was put into effect yesterday from the Ohio Department of Health is mandating masks in public places in a total of 7 counties right now, because it is for counties who are in a level 3 or a red level alert under Governor Mike DeWine's new color-coded alert system for the state of Ohio. There's a lot of confusion regarding enforcement about that. Of course, we'll have more information for you on that on WKYC.com and in our WKYC app, as well as on our shows tonight at 5, 6, 7, and 11, and tomorrow morning as well. But right now we're going to talk about exemptions to that order. So here are some of the exemptions to the state order about mask mandates in those counties that have reached that level 3 red alert for COVID-19. One is if a child is under the age of 10 years old. So the age issue has been treated differently in different places under this state order from the Ohio Department of Health. That barometer is set at the age of 10. So if you're under the age of 10, you are exempt from wearing a face covering in public. If you have a medical condition that would restrict your breathing, if you have a behavioral issue or some sort of a situation that makes wearing a facial covering extremely difficult or impossible for you, that is also an exemption. Also, if you are alone in an enclosed space like an office and your space is not intended for use with access to the public, if you're actively participating in an athletic activity, or if you're seated and actively drinking a drink or eating food in a restaurant or at a bar at this time. Those are some of the exceptions under that mask mandate here in the state of Ohio. Now, this afternoon, I did have the opportunity to talk with an expert to answer your questions about facial coverings. I talked with Dr. Ian Gonzenhauser. He is the Chief Quality and Patient Security Officer at the Ohio State University Wexner Medical Center. And he answered all of the questions that so many of you sent in related to masks. Some of those things include what would qualify as an exemption. We did talk about that. How often you should wash your mask. If you can get by with just a face shield, those visor-looking things that some people have been opting for in place of and in addition to masks. We also covered what age should require facial coverings of children, because there's lots of different information out there about that, and the controversial issue of whether the mask mandate should be statewide. So you can check that out if you missed it on WKYC.com and in our WKYC app. That video is also live on Facebook and YouTube. Meijer grocery store is pulling out of sponsoring the Lorain County Fair due to the display and sale of Confederate flags. This is something we've been seeing at different county fair situations across the country. So Meijer confirmed to 3 News in a statement that they were pulling out of sponsoring the Lorain County Fair. They said this: "The Confederate flag is inconsistent with our company values, and our goal is to support events and organizations that build unity in the communities we serve." The Chronicle-Telegram reported about this and said that a group called the Fair-Minded Coalition of Lorain County reached out to Meijer executives last week about allowing the flag to be sold at the fair. By Monday, Meijer said that it asked the Lorain County Fair to pull its branding from the fair's materials until they, quote, "do the right thing." The Confederate flag's placement at fairs and sporting events has been under scrutiny following the death of George Floyd, who was killed at the hands of a now fired and now charged with second-degree murder former Minneapolis police officer by the name of Derek Chauvin. And now conversations are being had around the country about racial justice, about equity, about diversity and inclusion, and respect for all people. The Wayne County Fair prohibited the sale and display of the Confederate flag last month, while vendors at the Medina County Fair have also agreed not to display or sell the controversial flag, which many believe to be a symbol of hate speech tied to a time when slavery was rampant in the U.S. An amendment that would have banned the sale of the flag at all of Ohio's county fairs was introduced in the Ohio State House of Representatives, but it was voted down by the Republican-led House. Now, that's an interesting question, because if the Confederate flag is determined to be hate speech, it is actually constitutionally protected, meaning the federal government can't infringe on your ability to engage in that free speech. There are only a few things that can be infringed upon. Those are obscenity, defamation, fraud, incitement to violence, and true threats among them. So here's a quick note about county fairs. It's a little bit misleading because they're called county fairs, but many fairs are actually run by private organizations like not-for-profit corporations, and those organizations have the ability to limit things that the government simply cannot do. So that's an interesting fact for you related to what will potentially happen with the future regulation regarding display of the Confederate flag. Here in Northeast Ohio, ODELL BECKHAM Jr. is giving us an injury update, and he is bringing back a signature look that we didn't see around here last year. OBJ spoke about his core muscle injury in a new YouTube video. Here's the gist of it. He's doing really well. So in the video, he's working out with Dr. David Hancock, who is a world-renowned physical therapist and strength coach. In the video, Dr. Hancock says, "We've been looking after him this offseason in collaboration with the Browns following surgery on his groin, and he's doing really well." From the mouth of the doctor. We definitely want to hear that. In a separate video that was posted back in May, OBJ talked about that sports hernia injury, and that really hampered him throughout the last season. Last season, he caught 74 passes for 1,035 yards and scored 4 touchdowns in 16 games. It was not the season that he was hoping to have. This is his lowest single season stat totals of his career, aside from 2017 when he played in just 4 games that year. So obviously the stats were going to be lower that year. Now, OBJ said that the procedure was probably one of the worst surgeries that he's ever had, but recovery is going well, and he's really just trying to put his body back together. And something else came back in that video. He brought back that blonde hair that he's so well known for, which we didn't see last season. So maybe this is a return to the old OBJ, and we'll get those numbers back up there for the Browns football season, which hopefully, don't kill me for saying that, but hopefully happens this year. You all know it's very questionable at this point. Okay, here's something you need to know about the hot weather that we've been having. The city of Cleveland has released a list of ways to stay cool during a heat advisory because it's getting dangerously hot out there. Today, the humidity factor will crank the heat index upwards of 100 degrees throughout Northeast Ohio. So here are some tips from the city to stay safe during this heat. Stay hydrated. Drink plenty of water, and now is not the time to be having that extra cup of coffee because you want to avoid caffeine because that will dehydrate you. Wear loose-fitting, light-colored clothing during hot weather. That'll help you ventilate and not overheat. Cover your head with a hat and use sunscreen to protect yourself from the sun's rays. Sunscreen is very important, not only for the short term, but also for your long-term health. Be in the shade if you can. If you don't have air conditioning, try to get yourself into some cooler areas. Try to get some ventilation going. Open a window, get one of those box fans, that kind of thing. Check on your friends and neighbors, especially seniors and especially people that have young children, and keep an eye on your pets. Make sure your pets have plenty of access to shade and plenty of water. Be careful when you're walking pets on asphalt because if they have those sensitive little paws on that hot pavement, they might get hurt. So here is a good tip. Put your hand down on the pavement and see if it's comfortable for you to rest your hand on the pavement. That'll give you an indication on whether or not it's going to hurt those sensitive little pads on the feet of your pets if you're taking them outside. Don't leave your children or your pets alone in vehicles. It does not take long for the inside of a car to get so hot that it is deadly. And this can even happen when it's not hot outside. So be extra vigilant right now about not leaving pets or children alone unattended in cars. Things you should refrain from: mowing your lawn, refueling your vehicle, and openly burning any kind of thing that's unnecessary right now when it is this hot. Stay hydrated, be safe, be mindful of the hot weather conditions. We love the summer, but we have to be careful. That's it for your 3 News Now afternoon update for Thursday, July 9th. I will see you next up on What's New at 5 p.m. I'll have some excerpts for you from my conversation with that mask expert there, as well as trending topics in your entertainment news, along with everything else you see on the show, hosted by Betsy Kling and Mike Polk Jr. today because Jay is out. We'll have more for you on the rest of the shows tonight, and I'll see you back here tomorrow at 11 a.m. with your 3 News Now early update. Everyone enjoy the rest of your evening. I'll see you at 5 on What's New. I'm Stephanie Haney.